Welcome to this video from Revived Yarn. I'm Elisabetta, founder and director of this lovely community which is based in Dublin, Ireland. Today I'm gonna give you some updates on the news about the project, and I'm gonna introduce you to my new discovery, the Adi Express knitting machine. 2020 was a great year for Revived Yarn. Our volunteers really demonstrated that people can come together to support the community and the ones around us that need help. We were able to connect with several other communities, for example, the Inner City Helping Homeless and the Muslim Sisters of Eire, to distribute in Dublin city centre our handmade hats and scarves for people affected by homelessness and poverty. Knitting also proved to be a very effective way to cope with stress, anxiety, especially after the pandemic and the current lockdown that is still present in Ireland. People contacted Revived Yarn to ask if they could contribute as a way of spending their time and making themselves available to help the others. So this was really, really great, and thank you all for being part of this project. My year concluded very nicely, but the start of 2021 was not so great. In fact, unfortunately, I fell and I broke my arm, my right arm. So I went through the first 2 weeks with a lot of pain and frustration, sadness as well, and a lot of challenges because I live basically alone. So it was very problematic for me to understand how to do very basic things. But once I got the hang of it, I was just, I was going through it pretty well, and I managed to do the basic stuff, maybe cook something really simple or go around the house and try to not sleep all the time because between the pain and all the medications, it was really challenging. And as for many other people, also for myself, knitting and crafts in general are a beautiful way to relieve the stress and to distract my mind from the attention given to the pain. So in that moment, I was not able to do anything. So it was really, really difficult and frustrating for me. Then I remembered that just a few weeks back, around Christmas, a lovely lady who is part of a zero waste community donated to me this beautiful knitting machine. And I had put it aside for the time being because it was just Christmas time, and even if we were in lockdown, it's still a time to, connect with friends or family and to relax. So I didn't really pick it up immediately. But then, after the worst days of my injury were over, then I realized that maybe I could give it a try and see if I could knit with one hand. And I have to say, it was really fun, and I'm so glad I did that. There are so many videos on YouTube that you can use as reference for learning the basic stitch, how to set it up, and also very simple patterns to make any kind of garments. With this kind of machine, you have basically this moving loom that goes all the way around with a sort of handle that you have on one side, and while you're turning it around, you have these hooks that pop up from the center of the machine, and they will just basically grab the yarn and pull it through the loops of the existing fabric that is lying underneath. So it's really straightforward. I could use it with my left hand. It was really easy. There is also a very handy counter here that can help you to track the amount of rows you're knitting, especially if you're following a pattern and you need to make a change either in the stitches or in the yarn, or even just understand when to bind off the entire piece you are knitting. At the beginning, it was a little bit of a challenge just to understand what yarn to use. I started from the highest size. So I started from a chunky and I realized that was not working. Then I went down and down until I realized that really DK is, at least for me, the most suited yarn for this machine because it glides very easily through the hooks, and it gives a density of fabric which is very satisfying. Also, another thing to keep in mind is you want to use a yarn that is not um, felting, you know, like don't use a yarn that is really rough, scratchy wool, because that's gonna probably stick together and the fibers of the yarn may just tangle in the machine. And sometimes that happened to me and it was really annoying. Also, if you need to unpick some stitches, if the yarn is already felting, it's gonna be a little bit of a pain to work it. Another thing to keep in mind, again, I'm just remembering, is that you don't want to use yarn that is plied loosely. The singles, so the individual strands of yarn that are twisted together to create the yarn, sometimes are twisted very tightly together. So for example, this yarn just dropped on the floor. This yarn is really, well, it's really tight. So if you try to unspin it, so if you try to untwist it, it's not gonna open up. So you need to really go a lot before the yarn starts to open up, but it's not gonna open up completely. There are other yarns that are not spun really tightly, and that means that it's very easy for the yarn to open and to give the chance of a hook to pass through it and splice it, and that can make a stitch drop, or it can actually jam the machine. That happened to me a few times, so I just decided to avoid using those kind of yarns and just use either singles or yarns that are really, really tight. So once I understood that, it was just fun to play with it. It's super quick. I was able to make a scarf in like maybe a few hours, and the hat in maybe the first time in 1 hour, but then once I got the hang of it, it was just like maybe half an hour. The first project I made was a scarf. This is it. This is the scarf I made. It's super long because I was going and going because I was enjoying it, and I just lost track of the length of it. This is the super long scarf I made. It's actually this length, and I mixed several balls of yarn that I joined with the Russian join. It's really seamless, and also I seamed the end with this lovely fringe, which is again used from repurposed yarn that was donated to Revive Yarn. Everything you make with this knitting machine can either be flat or can be in the round. So if you go in the round, you just keep going and going and going and going, and it's just a spiral that grows and makes this super long tube. This in fact is a tube. I don't know if I'm able to use my arm, but if you can see, I can just open it up, and it's 2 layers. It's just a tube which is sewn at the end here. This machine also comes with some stoppers that you can place wherever you want, and then you can knit panels. For example, if you want to make a poncho or a sweater or a blanket or whatever, and you will just go back and forth all the time to knit the front and the back of the rows. So I just decided to learn it for the moment with the round, and maybe one day I will knit some flat panels. And then I moved to hats. So I found this yarn that was in my stash. It was really small leftovers that again I joined. And this again is a hat, which is it's a tube, and then you basically fold one extremity of the hat inside the other, and then you pass a thread at the top and you pull it so that it creates the crown of the hat. And you can play with lengths for different sizes, and in this case it's for female and or maybe a teenager, and you can actually fold the brim up for a nice little hat like this. I made also a pink one, and then I tried to play with colors. This one is a longer hat, which is thought more for people that have maybe curly hair or for men. And it has stripes of different colors. Again, I joined the yarn with Russian join, and it's double-sided again. So if you turn it inside out, it's gonna be all one color. In this case, a marbled gray with speckles of white and black. And if you fold the brim up, you reveal this decoration that is the red that was on the other side. So it's really handy, it's lovely, it's squishy because it's double layer, and the double layer actually makes it really warm and protects you from the wind and the cold very effectively. Um, yeah, so it was really super fun. I made a lot of hats just using my left hand because literally I was sitting. I'm gonna turn this around just to show you what I was doing. I was just sitting there doing like this, maybe keeping an eye on the hook just once in a while, but watching a movie, and it was just, so relaxing. And you just, just do this or do this, and it just goes on its own. So it was so much fun. Thank you so much for staying with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a like if you wish. And if you want to have more information about this project, please visit revivedyarn.com or contact me at revivedyarn@gmail.com. Hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.